Hello and welcome once again to Sea of Tranquility. I am your host, Pete Pardo. Thanks for joining us here on this Sunday afternoon. It's actually kind of a sad day for progressive rock fans as we mourn the passing of Chris Squire, legendary bassist and founding member of Yes, who passed away last night after a very short bout with a rare form of leukemia at age 67. What more can we say? Chris Squire is going to be missed. He is a bass legend. In my opinion, probably one of the top three rock bassists of all time, alongside the late Jack Bruce as well as John Entwistle. They kind of make that trifecta of legendary bassists. And ironically, Chris leaves us on the exact same day as Entwistle 13 years ago in 2002. They passed away on the same day, June 27th. So, just wanted to do a little tribute to Chris Squire today. I mean, he has been the one constant member from the beginning in Yes. And, he's done a couple little projects here and there with other folks, but mostly he has just been that driving force of Yes since the late 60s. And, recently when it was diagnosed that he had this rare form of leukemia, he announced to the world that he was going to be stepping away from the band, their tour that they had just announced with Toto. And longtime Yes collaborator Billy Sherwood was to come in and take his place on bass and backing vocals for the tour. And here we are, less than 2 months after that announcement, and he's gone. So just wanted to talk a little bit about the man, the music, his bass skills for a few minutes here today in tribute to Chris Squire. So, when you're talking about Chris Squire, what are you talking about? You're talking about Yes, basically. So, one of my favorite Yes albums, the Yes album, first one with Steve Howe on lead guitar. This is actually the band's third album. And, some really classic tunes on here. This is kind of where it all really, really clicked with the band. So you've got, Yours Is No Disgrace, Starship Trooper, Seen All Good People, Perpetual Change, all really, really great classic tunes. Again, this is kind of like the beginning of their classic period. So you've got the acrobatic guitar stylings of Steve Howe meeting up with Chris Squire's wonderful melodic yet meaty Rickenbacker bass sound. His backing vocals, you've got, this was also notable for Bill Bruford's drum skills, who would actually join King Crimson a few years after this. This is the last studio album with Tony Kaye on keyboards, and of course the lead vocals of John Anderson. It kind of all clicked into place on Fragile, the first album with Rick Wakeman on keyboards, so he kind of made that classic Yes lineup. And, of course, the lead single and probably the most famous Yes tune of all, Roundabout. It's got that great Chris Squire bass lick on it. South Side of the Sky, Long Distance Runaround, and, of course, The Fish, which was always Squire's solo spot in concert. Just a great bass player, Mood for a Day, Heart of the Sunrise. Heart of the Sunrise, another song with a great, just acrobatic bass line. So, can't go wrong. My personal favorite Yes album, you're hearing in the background. It's Close to the Edge. One of the greatest progressive rock albums of all time. The title track, which is playing as we speak, is just an amazing lengthy tune of epic proportions. It's just got everything you love about prog rock. Listen to that groovy Squire bass going on in the background, those wonderful Wakeman keyboards. You got Anderson floating over the top. You got Bruford underneath. Howe doing his stuff. Lovely in You and I, and probably one of the most underrated Yes tunes in their entire discography. And one of my personal favorites is Siberian True. Just a wonderful tune. What else? One of the ultimate live albums of the 70s from any prog band, Yes songs. This could very well be a greatest hits from their early part of their career. Also the introduction of Alan White to the band. If you've seen the film of the same name, they're just firing on all cylinders here, and it's just great to watch Squire live up there on stage with that white Rickenbacker bass, and he's just tall, and just looming about, What else we got here? Tales from Topographic Oceans. Their controversial double album. There's only 4 tunes. It's sprawling. Every tune is like 20 plus minutes long, and this is as epic as it gets. I like this album. Not one of my favorite Yes albums. I really have to be in the mood for it because it's just so complex and dense, and there's nothing commercial about this album at all. But again, if you want to hear some of the great instrumental skills of the band, and of course Mr. Squire, then I recommend that one. Probably more so, displaying the skills of the instrumental abilities of the band is Relayer. So for here, Wakeman's out, Patrick Moraz is in on keyboards. The band seemed to kind of harness their inner jazz fusion sensibilities on this album, maybe as a response to acts like Return to Forever and Mahavishnu Orchestra on the fusion scene. Anyway, there's just some dynamite. The Gates of Delirium's got some amazing interplay between Squire and Howe and Moraz, and it's Sound Chaser, another killer tune. Just some bass playing at the time that you never really heard before. Sure, you had guys like on the fusion scene, you had Jaco Pastorius and Stanley Clarke. And like I mentioned earlier, of course, Jack Bruce, his time with Cream, and the Who's John Entwistle. But this is right before Geddy Lee started to rise to prominence. Of course, Squire was a huge influence on Rush's Geddy Lee, and so you started to hear more of that virtuoso bass playing in the prog rock and hard rock genres. But some of the stuff you hear on these early Yes albums from Mr. Squire, just it's hard to beat. Going for the One, another classic album. Probably the last vintage, really great vintage Yes album in my view. I still really dig this album a lot. Yes Shows, another great late 70s live album from the band. They're really ripping it up on this. And, here, my actual, as a 14-year-old teenager, my first introduction to Yes was actually on the Drama album. And, if you're a Squire fan, he's all over this. I mean, Tempest Fugit, come on. I remember the first time I ever heard Tempest Fugit on the radio, and hearing that thunderous bass lick. I mean, it doesn't get any better than that. Into the Lens, Machine Messiah, probably the heaviest thing the band ever did. It's just got that booming Rickenbacker bass from Squire, and, just classic stuff. And then, let's not forget the vocal ability of Mr. Squire, as well as songwriting skills. When they kind of regrouped in the early 80s with a new lineup, Trevor Rabin joined the band, Tony Kaye comes back, and 90125, this has got Squire's stamp all over it. I mean, his backing vocals coupled with with Anderson and with Rabin just form this really, really lush, big vocal sound. There's just hooks aplenty here. He's always good at writing catchy hooks. So, from a songwriting perspective, not so much the bass playing in this album, but more from the songwriting and the backing vocals. I think Squire's stamp is all over this album. And him and Rabin just really made a really good partnership. And, Yes would go on to record more albums throughout the 80s and the 90s and into the 2000s. And they, just recently put out a couple albums. He's also done numerous collaborations with Billy Sherwood. Also his Fish Out of Water solo album from the 70s, quite good. And he also did an album with Steve Hackett of Genesis under the name of Swacket, which is pretty strong. So, here we are in 2015, June 28th, and now he's gone. It's kind of hard to believe. But, like they say, nobody lives forever, and unfortunately for a lot of us fans who've been following some of these classic groups, we're hearing more and more of them passing, and it's a real shame. But, we'll always have the memories. Personally, I've seen Yes, 12, 15 times at least, if not more, over the years. I started going to see them back in the early 90s. I saw them like 4 times on the Union Tour, and I've seen them pretty much almost every tour since then. Just saw them last year at Radio City Music Hall. So I've got fond memories, and we always have the music, and that's never going to go anywhere. So to Chris, we're going to miss you. Your importance to not only the progressive rock community, but rock and roll in general will never be forgotten. It will always be felt. Your influence on bassists has been cemented for decades, and that will always continue. And your skills on the bass, songwriting, vocally, on all those classic Yes albums will live forever. So here's to you, Chris Squire, leaving us way too soon at 8:67, June the 27th, 2015. We'll miss you, Chris. For everyone at Sea of Tranquility, I am your host, Pete Pardo, and we'll see you soon on the next What's Hot with Sea of Tranquility.